Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Irene and today I'm going to be sharing information about Frenchman's Cove. And Frenchman's Cove is located in Port Antonio, which is a little bit, let's see, oh gosh, I'm directionally challenged. It's northeast. So if you fly into Montego Bay, which is what we normally do, then you're going to be driving about 4 hours northeast. And so it does take a little bit of time and effort to get there. So we normally stay a few days in Port Antonio just because there are a lot of other sites to see there. And I will be talking about, let's see, am I going to be talking about other places there? Actually, if you see my favorite attractions, then there are probably a couple of places mentioned in that. Also, attractions that didn't make my favorites list, there is at least one site mentioned that is Port Antonio, located in Port Antonio. So a little bit of a mix, but in general, it's to me one of the most beautiful places on the island to see. And there are waterfalls, there's beaches, there's rainforest type of foliage. So I'm not sure if it's really an official rainforest. I don't actually think it is. It just happens to be very lush and green. And actually some of the foliage reminds me of something right out of Jurassic Park, just because the leaves get huge. And actually, if I can find a picture, which I probably can, get a picture, I will insert it just of some of the foliage, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. But anyway, the video is on Frenchman's Cove, so I do want to share information about that. It is $10 per person to get in, and that's really for parking and to stay at that particular beach as long as you want. And there are lifeguards. I saw at least one in, a typical sort of lifeguard tower, and at a certain time in the evening they will let you know that the lifeguard is leaving, so that if you have little ones or if you have somebody that really is dependent on knowing that there's a lifeguard there, not necessarily dependent on having a lifeguard, but just feels better if there's a lifeguard there. Either way, I mean, even if you have swimmers that are like newly budding swimmers, I'm not sure what they call them when they're not really that confident or competent in the water yet. But if you have new swimmers, just know that they do have a lifeguard there. The water is pretty shallow for a significant distance. So, and obviously I will be inserting pictures as well so that you can see what I'm talking about as I'm describing this, or just after I describe it, depending on how I insert that. But there is sort of a half moon shape, I would describe, sort of rock structure that doesn't completely enclose the area. There is a portion of it that's left open so that waves are coming in, and you will get some pretty good waves if the wind is really kicking up, or depending on the season it is. But I think that structure, that rock structure that almost encloses the area, really breaks up some of the waves so that you're not getting extremely large waves, but you will get some. Like I said, it is shallow for a pretty good distance out, so you don't have to worry about an immediate drop off. You will have some space to walk and move around in shallow water. And then, as you go out, the water, I think the currents kind of make it so that there is, I think, warmer water at the top and then cooler water at the bottom. And I don't know if it's really because, the ocean water is mixing with the river water, but my hunch is that it does have something to do with that. So I will also make sure to insert at least a photo that has a portion of the river. And so I believe this area where the river meets the ocean is referred to as an estuary, but that's the case here, where there is a freshwater river that flows into the ocean at this particular juncture. And so you can, play around in the water that is part of the river, or you can play in the water that is part of the ocean. And they also have a swing there that is sort of in between the river and the ocean, which I think is really fun. Again, it's really shallow right in that area. So if you fall off the swing, or if you have trouble getting on and off the swing, the water isn't very deep in that portion. And the beach itself is really gorgeous. This whole area, I think, is gorgeous in general, but the beach has really soft, fine sand, which I really like because it feels really nice under your feet. And then there are some beach chairs or regular chairs that you can rent. So a couple of things with that. One is that they do have a couple of picnic tables that you don't have to rent. I think it's just first come, first serve. And then they do have other plastic chairs that you can rent. I think it's just a couple of dollars for the entire day. So you can rent those and go back and forth, in the water and out, and have somewhere to sit if you choose. I think they also had some umbrellas to rent, and I want to say those were around $10. I'm not completely sure because we didn't use any of them, and I completely forgot to check. So when you are going through the water near the river, then on the other side, the opposite bank, is also a little beach area, which, if you go through the river, there is a little bit of a kind of deep part there that you can cross over to get to the other side. It's only about waist deep or so, I would say. So it's not extremely deep. You don't have to swim in order to get to the other side. But if you want to go to the other side and just carry, your bags and whatever you have with you up above your head, and just, walk to the other side, then you can do that, which is what we did. We just spread out our towel and hung out on that part because it didn't have anybody else over there. It wasn't really secluded because you could see from the other side of the river, but it just felt more private. So anyway, that's an option if you happen to get there and nobody's over there. And then there are some branches of the trees nearby that you can sit on and kind of dangle your feet in the water, which is really nice. Also, they have a restaurant there, so I believe that you can get there up to the restaurant because it requires some stairs to get up there. I believe you can either use the stairs or go around to the side where there's a bit of an incline, but you can still walk without going upstairs. And I mention that because I know that some people may not be able to navigate stairs very easily, or they prefer not to if they're given an option. And so know that there are 2 ways to get up to the restaurant, so you don't have to navigate the stairs. Also, this entire area is pretty level. I mean, there are some inclines like the one that I described to you just now. Also, before you get to the restaurant, then there are some bathrooms and changing rooms. So there is a little bit of an incline going up to the restrooms, but not much. So I think even if you were with somebody or you yourself were in a scooter or something like that, well, you probably couldn't take it onto the beach because I don't know if they operate in the soft sand, but there is some gravel, sort of concrete area pretty well into this area. And then once the sand starts, then you could probably just get out of your vehicle if you can, your scooter or wheelchair, and then, you know, walk a little bit further and get a chair and sit that way. I'm not sure if it would be completely conducive to something like that, but definitely for somebody that is fairly mobile and doesn't really need assistance in walking and is okay with sand, because sometimes walking in sand can be a little tough. But anyway, I think you get the point on that. So I think, what else? So I mentioned the restaurant. Oh, another thing with the restaurant I wanted to mention is that the food prices are not probably as inexpensive as you might experience on some other parts of the island. If you go into like a mom and pop, you might get a big plate of food for $4 US dollars. In this area, you would probably expect to pay around, I would say $8 for, you know, a hamburger and fries. And then, you know, maybe $2 or $3 for a drink, depending on what it is. I believe they also sell beverages with alcohol in them, or you can get sodas or fruit punch, things like that. And water, just cups of water, that's free. So those, I think, are the main things. And again, this is just a really great place to visit. I highly recommend it if you are going to be in the area and can set aside at least a few days for this particular area. Again, lots of things to see around here, and I think nature types of things I'm talking about. So obviously you're on an island, you can expect to experience island type attractions. So that's really what I'm referring to. So anyway, I hope that this video was helpful to you in some way. And if you are going to be visiting Jamaica, then lucky you, it's gorgeous. So I do have a Jamaica series on my channel, so please check out some of my other videos. I do have a few more Jamaica related videos that I will be uploading in the near future, so please subscribe if you're interested in any of those things, and I hope to see you again. Thanks.